Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at it again. As you can probably tell from the little thing that's right below my camera over here, it is the 1st of July. And you know what it always means when it's the 1st of July, or really any other month at all, we're going to get a new revenue report on the r/gacha gaming subreddit. And let me just tell you something in advance before we take a look at this report. This shit is cooked. This is one of the most cooked gacha reports that exists, I think, in the history of gacha revenue reports, looking only at mobile data. Because good golly gee, spending is at a level that I don't think any of us have kind of seen before, and that level is low. And when it comes to these mobile charts, there's always a discussion that we need to have first and foremost, right? These are estimations based off of certain projections, and they'll usually just account for, roughly, most would say, around 30 to 40. In some cases, maybe 50 or so percent more of revenue. But basically, mobile's only a piece of the pie. And what most people do in every circumstance to estimate overall revenue in the month for a game is just take that number and multiply it by something between 3 and 4, right? Because then you get 33% times 3, you get 99. You get what's going on over here. So that's typically what we're using to judge the overall performance of the companies. Think of mobile as that 30 to 40% and then fill in the blanks from there. So with that in mind, we've got the numbers over here. With that in mind, we've got the overall results. And I'm going to be taking this in a bit of a suspenseful fashion. You can skip ahead if you want. But knowing these results are so awful, this is probably the best way to go about it. So, excuse the HSR cutscene for a second. We're going black screen or white text because we're starting all the way from the bottom over here with the big 5 games, right? And when we think about the big 5, maybe I introduce some fun stuff. We're gonna be thinking about games like Genshin Impacto, Wuthering Waves, Honkai Star Rail, Zenless Zone Zero, and NTE. You can decide to make it Big 6 if you want by throwing in Arknight's Enfield, but I think we all probably know by now, it's probably not even Big 6, it's more like Big 4. And the Big 4 is more like the Big 3. Big 3 being HSR, Wuwa, and Genshin. And then ZZZ, NTE, and AKE are kind of like the 3 step siblings that are all sleeping outside and not in the house. So that's what's going on over here. And we're starting with the most ugly of the 3 step siblings, Arknight's Enfield. Because, don't worry guys, it's gone up by 16 positions. 16 positions compared to the prior month. Because yes, last month, it made about $4.7 million. Where, again, if this is 30 to 40%, that's about $15 million total for the entire game in May. So $15 million total for the entire game is pretty bad. Because remember, about 30 to 40%, you just multiply that shit by 3 and you're going to get roughly the month's revenue. That's rough. And this month, they doubled it. Yeah, so this month, they pretty much just doubled it, about 101%. But when you're starting from a much lower number, right? Let me just tell you this. There are games where their mobile number is bigger than this times 3 this month. There are games where their mobile number, which is supposed to be 30% of their total revenue, is bigger than this times 3. This is like what? Like 30.5 million times 3 representing the entire game? Again, games like Genshin, games like HSR, they're already earning more than this, just on mobile. Like, you all know that. Now, directly above that, or sorry, before we get to ZZZ, we need to talk a little bit about what's going on with Enfield. Why do you think this is happening? The game sucks. This is possibly the worst gacha release ever created. From the perspective of, I don't know how it manages to sustain a viewership that seems to go lower and lower every month, despite the fact that they're supposed to be adding stuff that fixes the game every patch. Before, it was like the quality of life. After that, it was and then the third thing following that was contingency contract. Yeah, I don't know about this one. Yeah, there's an actual error 404 over here. Viewers not found. That's funny. Good joke, chatter. You're old as fuck and a fucking nerd. Don't type that shit ever again. So this is like not good. But that's just on Twitch. Right? That's just on Twitch. And let's just ignore the fact that this game has been getting its viewership Thanos snapped. But this is the thing. Thanos snapped twice last month. That's minus 75%, which is that you took half and then you took half of that half. Enfield, with its latest patch, they underwent their Avengers Endgame movie, but they only brought back half the people. So you already got Thanos snapped. You only just undid the most recent snap. You still got to undo the first snap. But you got snapped again. So instead of undoing the snap, you got snapped again. That's what is going on with this game. They had like a momentary, like just a momentary little bit where they brought it back, but like now it's gone. It's gone. It's already gone again. But that's just Twitch, right? Some people,
Well, Sting, Twitch is only one piece of the pie. Twitch numbers don't represent everything. Oh my god, why is he always looking at Twitch numbers?
Then let's take a look at the YouTube numbers too. Yeah, I just put 3 other games on the screen with it. Neverness to Everness and Zenless Zone Zero, right? The other step siblings. Why do you think I called this one the ugliest one? Why do you think I called this one the ugliest step sibling? Because even when compared to other games that also suck, it sucks the most. That sucks. Yeah, no, I don't really know what else to say. This is YouTube searches, bro. This is how much people want to watch the game and engage with it outside of the game itself, which is a good sign of how popular the game is, right? This game has no YouTube presence at all, bro. I think every CC is already on the thoughts of playing other games. Like, Kuki Kaze is thinking about retiring. Smug Slav is playing Wuthering Waves. Analytical Vibes is deciding to play games with his career instead of playing Enfield. And I don't even know what's going on with the other creators. So that's what's going on. I think everybody covering this game is getting a mental illness if they don't already have one already. That's why I left the space. For this game, at least. That's how Enfield's doing. Not very good. I don't think we need to look more beyond that. And the fact of the matter is that, well, the revenue did technically go up, but it's still the ugliest out of all the gacha brothers and sisters. So, like, great. Like, awesome. Now let's move on to ugly number 2. We got Zenless Zone Zero. This is awful for one reason. Sorry, it's not just one reason. There are a lot. This is really awful for a lot of reasons. What did ZZZ just have? What did ZZZ just have? Version 3.0. Ooh. Wow. 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 That doesn't make the update bad, though. I know it doesn't, but this is also the thing. It could be the best update ever. And you want to know what the issue is? The better the update is, the worse this result is. ZZZ players, you should actually have wished that this patch was bad. Because if the patch is actually good and high quality and it's still making this little money, game's dead. Like, the game's dead because it's killed its reputation, and no matter what the devs do, no matter how good the game becomes, nobody wants to come back to it. Do you realize what that means? They could have worked as hard as possible, put out the craziest patch possible, and still nobody wanted to spend money on it because they're already burned by the game previously. Because if your 3.0 version can't make revenue, then this is the reality. Only your Void Hunters can make revenue. And I saw this one post over here that really broke it all down. Broke it all down and broke it all down really well. Check out this one over here. Agnes. ZZZ shot themselves in the foot with how they scaled and shielded the Void Hunters. The only time the game performs well on this chart are when we were at a Void Hunter or an equivalent. Instead of making them slightly better, they made them 10 times stronger, so nobody wants to fucking pull the Void Hunters. Or sorry, nobody wants to pull any units in this game unless they're a Void Hunter, because that's how it's balanced. Unfortunately, that killed the game. Yeah, unfortunately, that killed the game because people are like, oh, there's only actually one character release in this game every 6 months. The rest of it, every other character release other than these 6, it's just garbage. Like, literally garbage, because they all suck, and they always suck, and they will always suck forever. And that's what people think about when it comes to this game. But do you want to know how you know this is the biggest failure of them all? I already let you guys take a look at a couple of, like, fun bits of info, right? Like, we already know that the Steam release of ZZZ 3.0 didn't do very well, because it dropped down to 89 within, like, a day of its release. So, and it's at, like, it's at less players than, I think, Blue Archive right now. Yeah. So just so you know, ZZZ, you are currently actually your product, your game is getting mogged by Blue Archive. So somehow, like somehow it's getting beat by Blue Archive, both on the average as well as the current. So like there you go. Like this game is beating your ass as well. You just had your 3.0. That's not good because it's just your 3.0, right? But this is, I think, the worst part of it all, right? They've already shown everything. They've already shown everything. Do you want to know why? They've already leaked their latest Void Hunter, bro. They've already leaked their latest fucking Void Hunter over here. And you want to know who's on our team? The 1.0 unit, or the 3.0 unit, bro, but still nobody pulled her. Bro, the 3.0 unit who's live right now is on her team, the Void Hunter, and still nobody's pulling her. Do you know how cooked this shit is? Because this is a sign nobody's fucking pulling her, bro. That's a sign nobody's pulling your Void Hunter. Or it's a sign that everyone pulled the Void Hunter support, but there's not enough players for it to actually count as revenue. Or really meaningful revenue growth. So maybe ZZZ's just had an insane fall off of players, and everybody has gotten the next Void Hunter support. But when you've already shown exactly what the new Void Hunter needs in the preview gameplay footage, right? And the goal is like, oh, we're gonna show this and then get people to pull Velina. But then they don't. That's not good, guys. That's not good. And I guess it's just more of this, right? The game's balance is so fucked, and the reputation of every character that isn't a Void Hunter is so fucked that even the Void Hunter supports apparently aren't selling either. And apparently the same is with Dialin, right? That little midget 102 looking Dalmatian motherfuckers, right? She's broken as shit, and apparently nobody pulled her as well because she's not a Void Hunter. Guys, I don't know how these guys fuck themselves. And ZZZ had the Yi Shungite rerun too? Wait, they just had the Yi Shengguang rerun? Oh no. Oh no, she just wait, this is a Void Hunter. Wait, they did have a Void Hunter though, so like, wait, it's ongoing. So like, even the Void Hunter didn't sell. They just, this is the most recent one. So they reran this Void Hunter. She didn't fucking sell though. Everyone has her? Oh, do they? Okay, you got any proof of that? Maybe this game's just dying. Yo, think about that one, buddy? That's the situation over here, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't even think anyone can really disagree with the take over here, right? Maybe I'm tripping. I don't really think anyone can disagree with the take over here. It's just the game is kind of fucked. And the reputation of the characters, the balancing, the power creep, I think that's what has fucked it the most. Because yeah, people just pull these units, they can't clear the end game, and they're like, dude, every unit that isn't a Void Hunter is a scam, I'm just only gonna pull the Void Hunters. And so unless a character is at least stated to be Void Hunter equivalent, bye. And it's just been like that for like 7 million banners in a row. And I guess this is also the other thing. Guys, Yi Shungite was the 3.0 banner. If nobody pulled her, even though she's one of the strongest units in the game, this could also mean that that the game also just got no new players during 3.0. It could also just, like, because you would expect the new players would go for Yi Shungite, but, bro, this is like a new player not pulling Imith on her rerun next patch. Bro, this would be like a new player not pulling Cart during her first rerun of the 3.0 or stuff like that. It's like, you would expect the Archon character, right? The Void Hunter character, the Sentinel character, to get heavily pulled on during a debut patch. That's why they always rerun a Sentinel character during a debut patch. That's why ZZZ reran Yi Shungite, a Void Hunter, during the 3.0 patch, because they expected her to sell with the influx of new players. But damn, the fact that Yi Shungite didn't do that much, I think is... If Yi Shengguang's rerun led to this, alarm bells are going off if I'm Hoyover's. And if I'm a ZZZ player, alarm bells are also going off as well. I don't even think I'm trying to talk shit over here. I think I'm just talking facts. This is, remember what I said before about this month being really bad? This is only part of it. But don't worry, it gets worse. Now, we gotta scroll up a little bit further to find our next participant in the discussion. And while they're not, you know, in like the top 30 or whatever, they're in the top 10. Bro, this ain't very good either. Let's take a look at this. Neverness to Everness. From 23.5 million last month on mobile, and again, with 30 to 40%, right, that could have been around 60 million total for the month, is now down to, well, 13.9, a 10 million drop, or if we expand it out to the whole, potentially a $30 million drop, right? Because think about it this way. When you can multiply by 3 to get the total revenue number, you can multiply the losses by 3 to get the total revenue drop. And over here, ladies and gentlemen, I'm seeing a drop of $10 million on mobile, which could be 30 to 40 million total. And the question is going to be, why buy a character if all I'm going to do is play mini games, drive cars, fish, deliveries? Why even pull these characters if that's all I'm gonna do with them in this game? 90% of my playtime is playing mini games that don't evolve the characters. Why would I pull the characters? And this is kind of like, I think, the indication over here. That is what I said was going to happen with this game. Because, well, I think you've already exhausted the budget over here. I think you've already done everything that you kind of could have at this point. Like, you had the Porsche money as well. The Porsche collab as well. It's just... I don't know what this game is supposed to do. I know this game was going to drag a lot of people's attention because it seemed like one of the biggest games ever on release. But the reality is that it is empty. It is a shallow, wide pool. It is a game as large as the Pacific Ocean, but as deep as, I don't know, your toilet bowl. That's what this feels like. You can't get into it like further than like foot deep, ankle deep. It's like going ankle deep into the pool. And if you're happy with just splashing around, right? And the only thing that gets wet are like your feet, then great. You'll like NTE. But I feel like it's so hard to get engaged with this game on like a long-standing, like meta level to the point where you look forward to playing it. Because, let's just be honest, guys. is it fun? I feel like the fun you get from this game is like completing things. It's like doing things, right? It's like progressing, but the way that you progress is so boring, it's unreal. Refresh it? Why? Is it higher or lower? Why is everyone saying refresh? Probably because it's lower. Yeah. And this is also the case, right? I already showed you this shit before. Bro, that's NTE, ZZZ, and AKE. Okay, they're just all like, bro, look at the past year. This is how hyped the games were, right, on YouTube, right? This is literally, they were like God's gift during release, and people thought they were going to be the next big gachas, and then they have turned into the biggest afterthoughts in gacha. People just don't care about this shit anymore. They don't watch it. It's basically, effectively, Giga dead. And we're seeing somebody in chat say the difference is that ZZZ is on 3.0. These games are new. That's the thing, right? Is ZZZ has already kind of set its performance record, and it's not doing good, and it's still doing better than these two games. Because nobody thinks of ZZZ as close to the same level as HSR, Wuwa, or Genshin, right? Nobody also thinks of NTE or AKE to the same level as the big three. Nobody. Like, if you do think that they're at the same level as the big three, you, like, go get a CT scan. Right? Like, that's all I'm gonna say to you. We don't need to entertain the discussion no more. This is ZZZ's real competition. Right? I think this is clear. There's, like, a big three. It's like the soccer leagues, right? There's, like, the Premier League, which is, like, 2 Hoyo games and then Wuwa, and then you have like the relegation league or some shit, and that's where AKE, NTE, and ZZZ are currently playing. And as far as I'm concerned, bro, they're like all in the same spot, and they're all kind of just like games that seem to have one fatal flaw. I think that's what it is. It's a fatal fucking flaw. This game's got nothing to do to work with your characters for. Like, there's nothing there's nothing to work for in this game, and there's nothing to like use your rewards on. That's NTE's issue. Really hard time retaining players in the long run. They have no reason to keep playing. This game power crept the fuck out of every unit to where nobody wants to pull anything except Void Hunters, and their most recent Void Hunter banner rerun of the strongest one yet didn't even do that well. Factually, from this data, the Yishungite rerun didn't do well, even though Void Hunters are the only thing that sell in this game. That's troubling. My hand's getting tired looking for this game. Wait, no, I already skipped past it. Arknight's Enfield is the most content drought, absolutely nothing to do, waste your fucking time, like no viewership, boring piece of garbage game ever. It's just, Arknight's Enfield has the most things wrong with it. ZZZ doesn't have that much wrong with it, but the thing that's wrong with it is so bad, it's game killing. This thing is just a mess, and NTE has design issues. Deep-rooted design issues that may never be fixed. And this is my take. I don't know if any of them can be fixed. I don't know if any of them can be saved. I feel like either the reputational damage for something like ZZZ might be too much, especially after seeing this month's results. NTE, it's a design issue, so I don't know if it can even be fixed without a fucking straight recoding of the game. And then AKE, bro, they don't care. Bro, they had 4 months to do anything and they did nothing. So that shit is fucked too. This one's just not getting fixed from like a budget or like a laziness. I'm pretty sure they ran out of money. And at this rate, they definitely will if they haven't done so yet. That's the situation, ladies and gentlemen. That's the big three. Or sorry, the little three. The lil three. But the discussion gets spicier. The discussion gets better. Like I said, our goal was to hold y'all in suspense because, well, we're in the top 10 and you haven't seen a game yet, right? This is where it gets fun because you see the numerical rankings and the games you were expecting to see, you're not really seeing them yet, are you? So let's keep going. All right, so next, a couple of other games we're very familiar with, see them very often. We got HSR dropping down a spot. But the drop in revenue is actually larger than NTE's. It's actually larger than NTE's. And HSR's revenue drop, guys, is really troubling for one main reason. Oh, and this is the unfortunate. Yeah, this is 38 million to 28. I know my chat's blocking it, unfortunately. Let me go see if I can move my chat real fast. Yeah, no, we're gonna keep this suspenseful. Yeah, we're gonna keep this suspenseful. Yeah, look at my professionality as a streamer right there. All right, that's a big drop, right? 30 million potentially. For HSR, though, maybe they got more mobile players, so maybe it's like 50-50. I wouldn't be surprised if HSR is like 50-50 mobile to PC. So maybe you only multiply this loss by 2, because HSR, you could play it with your feet. And you'd have no issues, right? Yeah. Mobile's not... The platform doesn't really matter for that game. That's a potentially $20 to $30 million drop for the entire game. But this is the thing, right? I was taking a look at, okay, why did people not like this HSR patch as much? I was like, oh, right, that kind of makes sense. They were rerunning Baldi, or they were running Blade, right? They were running Blade, who's a dude, who has a penis. So, like, maybe that's why it didn't sell well. But then they're also rerunning Yao Guang, who I think is, like, a little bit broken. Maybe she's not. But guess this. Look at who reruns in Phase 2. And then ask yourself, what happened to this revenue? You reran Cyrene and Phynon, who are essentially like your Archon units. Let me just say, if you don't view these characters as like Archons or Sentinels or like whatever, I don't know who is. These to me are like the clear, give me money now. I'm trying to make some fucking dollary dues, bro. Like, I'm trying to get some cash from this shit. And I would expect these characters to make like a lot. And apparently Blade is overpowered as well. Like meta-wise in the power creep game, right? He's broken. And so to see a drop like that, when you release, one, an overpowered character, and then two, on top of that, rerun some of like your main push units, that's the power of power creep, baby. That's all I can say. That is the power of power creep, baby. Because this is their first rerun. And it looks like their first rerun didn't even do that well relatively. Because when your power creep is so bad that people don't even feel like, people feel like the shelf life of your units is just their first run, and then every rerun afterwards is cooked, that's crazy. That's crazy. Third rerun for Phynon? Oh, okay, it's his third one. I still don't think that means that he should be ignored, like, just on the third one. It hasn't even... Has it been a year? Maybe it's been, like... It hasn't even been a year since his release. He came out in 3.4. Yeah, it's not even 4.4 yet. Like, he can't even get longer than a year, bro? And then Cyrene obviously came out at the end of last year. So, yeah, this is Cyrene's first rerun, and, well, that's not looking like too crazy of a patch, right? That's not looking like too crazy of a patch. But that's the power creep, like I said before. So now... Directly above that, right, we see that HSR's big drop. Genshin, almost an equal-sized drop. And this is where I'm gonna say, maybe it's not really the... maybe it's just the industry, right? Because it seems like every game has dropped by $10 million. Isn't this just Lohen? Well, this is the thing, guys. You gotta take a look at the Genshin banners, right? It includes Nicole and Durin, so, like, maybe, whatever, right? It's the end of their banner. But it also includes Lohen and Mavawika. Remember what I said about that's the power of power creep, baby? If Mavawika can't sell, that's a little bit rough, isn't it? Or maybe Mavawika is the only one that carried and nobody wanted to pull Lohen. That could be the situation over here. Because, again, right, I'm not saying these are low revenue numbers as a whole. I'm saying these are low compared to last month. Minus 30 million, minus 20 to 30 million. Again, expanding this out to the whole. That's pretty significant once you think about it, right? And so, like I said before, bad month for gacha. Really bad month for gacha. Because every game did badly. Except for one. Because there's one game above these Well, there's 2 games above these 2, right? These are spots 3 and 4. So let's check out spot number 2. All right. There you go. Boom. We got Wuthering Waves at the top. Basically, the only big 3 gacha game that grew in revenue. It went up by 2 million on mobile, right? 2 point whatever on mobile, projection-wise, right? While other games went down by 9 to 10. Obviously, we know it's because of things like the Cyberpunk collaboration. Mainly because of the Cyberpunk collaboration. Looks like they got a decent number of sales over there. Specifically with the mobile audience, right? But then you also got to factor in, right? That 30 to 40%. It also applies to Wuwa too. You multiply this shit by 3. This month did pretty well, right? But this is just according to Sensor Tower. And this is where people have done some additional digging, right? People have done some additional data. This is just a reflection of how well the game does on Steam. Are you ready for this? This journey is going to be kind of crazy because it turns out that Wuwa's revenue, at least according to this, even in second place, guys, it might be unbelievably understated because it might have actually beat Love and Deep Space, the Gunnar game, the Fujoshi game. We might actually have beaten the Fujoshi game this month. But check this out. So, this is from somebody over here, right, who has, like, the actual Sensor Tower data. This shit is translated kind of badly, but don't worry, somebody's done some analysis of this. So, here are some of, like, the game identifiers and the headers. We've gone ahead and translated this. You can see over here, Wuwa, Honkai Star Rail, Genshin Impact, ZZZ, and Arknight's Enfield. They just decided not to put NTE on here. Maybe you should replace it. This is what it's actually looking like. Metric Row. And remember, this is just from Sensor Tower. So they actually bought the subscription and have gotten the data. June total revenue. Wuthering Waves at 26.25. HSR is actually in second place. And then Genshin over here in third. Then ZZZ. Then AKE. And this is the issue, right? iOS App Store data. Wuwa players don't like iPhones, apparently. They fucking hate them. But look at this, right? 2.67 iOS over here, 5.74 on iOS over here in Genshin, and then HSR has more as well. So what we established over here, right, is according to Sensor Tower's own data, scrubbed from the paid version, Wuthering Waves was making more money, but then simply had less iOS App Store revenue in CN. The issue over here is that on these charts, right, that everyone's looking at, doing comparisons with, remember when I said they're estimates? These estimates are being insanely understated for one main reason. Data found here is pulled directly from Sensor Tower with the exception of CN Android estimates, which are determined using a multiplier of CN iOS revenue. The multiplier is set to 1.75x by default. So essentially, this is what's going on. They're just taking iOS revenue, multiplying it by a multiplier, and then saying that's what Android revenue is. However, when a game simply has way less sales on iOS, because iOS maybe just isn't a good platform to play the game, that really heavily understates what's going on for Android. Because this is the global Android sales. This is the global iOS, right? This is about 2 times as much. You can see over here, look at global iOS for Genshin than global Android. They're the same. So in China, right, you 1.75x it to get the numbers. For Wuwa and global, their Android is 2 times as much. So realistically, right, you could say maybe Wuwa itself gets a 3.5, while other games get a 1.75, because that's what I'm seeing over here. 1 to 1, if not less. There's less Androids over here. They're the same amount, but then Wuwa's the only game that doubles its spending on Android compared to iOS. So that's what Wuwa is doing in global, right? But then you take a look at some of this other data as well, right? There's this other piece of data regarding Android in China. It's significantly more popular than iOS, commands up to 63 to 72% of the market. iOS is only 17 to 28%. That's probably why they do the 1.75 multiplier. But think about it this way, guys. None of these other games appear to be having that multiplier in global. Is that truly that accurate? Maybe, maybe not. But this is more so what's going on. Wuthering Waves probably makes way more money in terms of Android sales because it's being understated like crazy because they're just adding a multiplier onto these dog shit iOS sales. Wuwa and global clearly already shows it makes way more money on Android compared to iOS in global. If global is more evenly weighted with between iOS and Android, what do you think it's like in China for Wuwa? What do you think it's like in China for Wuthering Waves, iOS versus Android? If all the other games are 50-50 in global, but then Wuwa in global is 25-75, what do you think it's going to be from China, iOS to global? Like fucking 1 to 10. Maybe these other games are like 1 to 3, 1 to 4. Wuwa should probably be like a fucking 1 to 10 in China. And so this is where that 1.75x multiplier, right, that they've been just unilaterally applying, it makes no fucking sense here. Look at this global Android to iOS ratio. Look at the bottom. 1.86, 0.83, 1.0, 1.21, 1.12. That's Wuwa's global Android to iOS. But we're using the same multiplier in CN for all of them. I don't know. I would assume the ratio gets worse in CN. And so Wuwa, this 1.75, I don't think this really makes that much sense. And so the reality is, guys, Wuthering Waves' revenue, at least according to these charts, it might have just been severely understated the whole fucking time. Because this proves one thing, at least for this month, and we might have to look at some of the previous months, right? Wuthering Waves has an extraordinary split between iOS and Android players. There are way more Android players at a baseline for this game compared to any other game globally. And so, consequently, you would assume that this ratio over here of this 1.75x shouldn't even work for Wuthering Waves because it's understating the revenue. Because there's way more Android players that are not being accounted for in here. Because there should be a bigger multiplier for Wuthering Waves. Because this 1.75x multiplier, guys, it's smaller than the current global one. Global has a higher rate of Android to iOS players than CN does, according to those estimations. How does that make any sense when literally data is telling you that Android is more popular than iOS in China? This is crazy, isn't it? This is kind of crazy, isn't it? But that's what our CN bros have decided to share for us, ladies and gentlemen. And so the reality over here is very, very, very simple. Gachas are in a terrible, terrible, terrible spot right now. And these charts have allowed us, right, to truly see who's winning and losing. But these charts have proven to be some of the most unreliable ones ever, especially after we take a deeper look at this data. But do you want to know one estimation place that seems to have been the most reliable the entire time? Bro, oddly enough, it is at Magic. I'm not even fucking joking. You set this shit to like June 2026, it just tells you everything straight. You just go over here, look at top grossing. You'll see Wuthering Waves at 57. Then you'll see Love and D Space below it. Which, if iOS, right, if Android revenue numbers are severely being understated, right, and Wuwa is showing up over Lads, I mean, isn't that just kind of literally what's going on? Right? This is just literally what's happening, right? It's being understated like crazy. This is the final bit of proof. Lads, then Genshin right underneath Lads. Look at the gap between Genshin and Lads and Honkai Star Rail. They're all neck and fucking neck, right? And then Wuwa's just out here 10 spaces in front. How is this anything other than... Good lord. Wuwa's estimations are getting severely understated via this website's hilarious 1.75x multiplier. I think that's pretty much all the proof you need. It's been understated the whole goddamn time. So yeah. Like I said before, this month is crazy. And you've probably seen why this month is crazy. And we'll be talking about the lad situation later. I just don't think it belongs in this video. I think the main takeaway is gacha as a whole is actually getting its ass beat. And the only game that really didn't get its ass figuratively beat this month is Wuthering Waves. But the reality of Wuthering Waves is that, based off the data that we saw this month, this number is probably closer to like 40 or 50 on mobile. It's probably closer to like 40 or 50 on mobile because of how absolutely fucked those iOS Android numbers are. 1.86, bro, in global. in CN, this has to be like a 3 or a 4. Maybe the other games are a 1.75. Multiply this shit by 1.75 then. Because all these motherfuckers is a 1-to-1. Then in China, they go 1 to 1.75. Bro, this is a 1-to-2 baseline. What is it in fucking China then? And so, yeah. Hopefully, y'all enjoyed this coverage today. And I'm going to be honest, I feel like we were pretty fair to every single game. It's just, these patches, these gacha patches have not been particularly good. You probably understand it. You probably understand it just as much as I do if you've been playing gacha games, or at least attempting to, over the past month. Holy shit, what a shit show. And unfortunately, I don't think it's going to get a lot better in the months to come. We'll have to see, though. Let me know what you all thought. Peace out.